The Rumble for Stock Car Racing's International Showcase makes its way to the last stop on the schedule at one of NASCAR's toughest tracks to tame, with a championship on the line. Live from the virtual Darlington Raceway in Darlington, South Carolina, we welcome you to the fifth and final race of the 2022 D-Box eNASCAR International iRacing Series, powered by Digital Motorsports. Welcome to iRacing's coverage, where alongside Joe Peak in the broadcast booth, my name is Kenneth Bueno. We'll have Ryan Bauer producing all of the shots you'll see this evening. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. There was only one thing to name, Joe, going into this fifth and final race, and that's the magic number, 10. The difference in points between your leader, NASCAR Pinty Series driver Trey Lapsevich, and second place in points, NASCAR Mexico Series talent Victor Barrales in the 39. We've seen these two be competitive all season long, but finally we get to take step into a track and a place that has never been featured in series history, and one that is ultimately going to challenge everybody, including those two fighting for the title.
Yeah, it's quite a time for it to show up on the schedule because, I mean, it's an incredibly narrow track and an incredibly technical track. So it's going to test a lot of drivers. It's really going to push them, especially those that maybe aren't as strong on the ovals. Because remember, we have drivers that do both out here and some that maybe are stronger on one over the other. So unfortunately, those that aren't stronger on the ovals will have to really step up today.
It's a big difference from last week's occasion at Circuit Zolder, where we had a full field of Euro NASCAR talent. You take a look at the schedule, all the races that we've crossed over so far in the campaign, and the one that we're going to have here once we wave the green flag. We started it at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That became the win for Victor Barrales to step into the top of the point standings. Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, though, was a response by the Canadian Trey Lapsevich, who was able to take his first win, became the first driver in series history to get a win on both an oval and a road course in his career. Then we took a step to the high banks at Daytona, Joe. That was an absolutely wild race. Ryan Vargas went to victory lane there. And then, of course, last week, Circuit Zolder, which was filled with Euro NASCAR drivers at the front, and Paul Giuffreau took it home for the Euro NASCAR talent, was able to grab his first ever eNASCAR International iRacing Series win. But we head into Darlington Raceway with a lot of expectations and a lot of questions as well. Joe, take us through one of the oldest circuits on the NASCAR calendar and the one that these drivers will have to face tonight.
Yeah, essentially considered the first super speedway to show up for NASCAR. It was sort of an accident in that realm, but it's 1.3 miles in length, and each end of the racetrack is completely unique. That's the big thing that it's known for. And that is, of course, because of the minnow pond that was on the tighter end of the circuit that they had to try and avoid. Obviously, that's not there anymore, but it's become such a feature of the track since then that they never changed it. The big thing, though, that I think that doesn't get talked about enough is the fact that the banking, this is why I say that the super speedway aspect is kind of an accident. That banking wasn't supposed to be a part of the track. That was supposed to be a safety feature to keep the cars in, but the drivers quickly figured out that that's quicker to run up there, and that's why it's so narrow even to this day. So it wasn't really meant to be how it was, but just because it put on such unique races, they kept it that way, and well, like you said, it's too tough to tame. It's going to take a few victims, no doubt.
And that narrow nature also is going to play into the factor of difficulty to pass. We'll see that a lot with these Xfinity cars tonight. Joe, take us through our race analysis, what we're expecting to see with the length and possibly with strategy.
It's only 70 laps. It's not that long of a race, so that track position in qualifying is going to wind up being key because of the difficulty in overtaking. However, they do have an unlimited tire set in pit lane, so if we do get some yellows, they're not going to be hurting for trying to come in. And since this track does tend to eat them up, expect a lot of the drivers to come in if we get some green flag laps in. They also have a fast repair if they get some damage. Well, the Darlington stripe is sort of a staple here, so no doubt some will need to use that, but it is fixed setup, so they don't have to do anything to try and tweak the car to find speed that way. It's all down to you as the driver to find pace out there. But if they find themselves with some yellows towards the end, they have 3 green-white checkers attempts to try and finish under green this evening.
We've only had one opportunity to go into green-white checkered attempts in what we call eNASCAR overtime. That was at the Super Speedway at the Daytona International Speedway just a couple of weeks back when it was an early morning start on Sunday. Maybe we see that tonight, maybe we don't. We'll just have to find out at a track that definitely tests the drivers behind the wheel. And if you're enjoying our coverage of the entire series so far on eNASCAR.com/live, well, you still have an opportunity to win a Digital Motorsports NASCAR simulator outfitted with D-Box haptic technology. This contest and this giveaway ends tomorrow, December 21st, so get in there and give us your thoughts on who will win the eNASCAR International iRacing Series. I know there's two favorites already at the top with Train Lapsevich and Victor Barrales, but if you do win, you'll get a play seat rig, racing seat and brackets, a Fanatec Direct Drive base, Fanatec NASCAR wheel, Fanatec V3 pedals, a shifter, floor stand mount, curved screen, a Samsung 49-inch, and of course the D-Box haptic system, the best motion system on the planet, and it is using electric motors. It's not hydraulic, makes it a lot better, makes it more immersive for your sim racing experience. So sign up at dbox.com/eNASCAR/contest to get in on the giveaway today, and it's in. You still have that time. It closes tomorrow, December 21st, 2022. Also want to let you know that as we roll through the holiday season, we still have our iRacing holiday sale. I know myself and a lot of other drivers on the sim at iRacing know that this is the best time of year to get a new subscription if you're not already on the service, or to renew a subscription if you're already a user. We have 50% off for all new memberships through January 8th, so if you haven't got into the iRacing fix, you can start that today and get that deal. It certainly is a great one. There's a lot of great content on the sim already. Exciting new features from the Season 1 2023 build that came out a couple of weeks ago. So if you haven't gotten on iRacing yet, get on it now. This is the best time to do it. Heading trackside for the fifth and final race of this D-Box eNASCAR International iRacing Series, powered by Digital Motorsports, and up at the top of the charts in qualifying, on pole with a 30.081 rather. It is NASCAR Mexico Series champion for 2022. Ruben Garcia makes his return to the series in P1. He will have the driver trying to take away his first ever eNASCAR International iRacing Series championship, Train Lapsevich, alongside in row number 1. Raja Caruth for Drive for Diversity enters into the top 3. That's where he'll start tonight. And Jean-Philippe Bergeron in the 7 out of the NASCAR Pinty Series. A great qualifying effort for the Canadian driver. Justin Campbell out of the Drive for Diversity camp is inside the top 5. And Portuguese driver Miguel Gomez in the 46 will be on the outside in P6. Jojo Maggi will be P7. He'll be joined alongside by the driver trying to chase Lapsevich for the series championship, Victor Barrales, who has to do a lot of work from P8 tonight. Elisa Delso, the Frenchman, in the number 10 will be P9. And rounding out your top 10, Joe Peak, will be NASCAR Mexico's own Aaron Cosio.
Jake Cosio will be on the next row on the inside. Neil Lambert will be starting from P12. Then you get down to row 7. You've got Arthur Gama and Giancarlo Vecchi in the 13th and 14th positions. From there, Gordon Barnes will start in P15. Alex de Alba after that. And last on the grid is going to be Andre Perez de Lara. Those last two did not set qualifying times, unfortunately.
See if the 14 and the 1 can make their way through the front of the field. We saw a fantastic effort by Alex de Alba on the 14 just 1 week ago at Circuit Zolder. So we'll see if he can replicate some of the same success here in Darlington, South Carolina. Also to note, the number 9, Arthur Gama, a new driver. We'll get into a little more details of who he is and what he represents. A very big night for the NASCAR Brazil Series. They announced that a couple of months ago in collaboration with the GT Sprint Series in Brazil. Starting in 2023, that will be under the NASCAR umbrella. Gama, a driver out of the GT Sprint Series and the 2022 champion. So we'll talk a little bit more about Brazil's expansion with NASCAR and all the exciting things that will happen as he makes his debut here in this D-Box eNASCAR International iRacing Series, powered by Digital Motorsports. Final race, ready to have the green flag waved, and it's Ruben Garcia, Traden Lapsevich in your front row. The Toyota Supra and the Chevy Camaro enter the zone. We're under green, and the D-Box eNASCAR International iRacing Series, powered by Digital Motorsports, is finally underway from Darlington. Already a crash near the rear of the field, but the caution does not wave. It looked like Gordon Barnes, the 148, Andres Perez de Lara, and the one machine involved in the mayhem. I think they might have also collected the 75 of Giancarlo Vecchi. I think all three of them just got tangled as they were heading for turn number 1. There were 3 wide going into the corner. The 75 got loose, traveled down the racetrack. Fortunately, though, will stay green. And for right now, Ruben Garcia looking to pull away. Lapsevich under fire from the fellow Canadian in JP Bergeron.
Yeah, nice move down to the inside, and it's not going to be often you're going to be able to see those inside moves work. With these tires still pretty fresh, they've got the grip to do that, but once they start to wear out, that high line is the desired line, and it's going to be very tough to try and sneak underneath and get the shot off the corner.
And it was a textbook pass there, and one that we'll see often here at a track like Darlington as you ride on board with the points leader, Train Lapsevich, the teenager. The winner from the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park earlier this season. You'll see a lot of passes at Darlington happen on the straightaways. You won't see them happen in the middle of the corners, although JP Bergeron trying to prove us wrong here on the opening laps, and immediately takes on top of Raja Caruth and will steal away second. So a fantastic move by JP Bergeron. The NASCAR Pinty Series rookie finished 10th in the point standings in 2022, 7 top 10s, average finish of 12.5. And already making some good progress as you ride on board with Washington, D.C.'s own Raja Caruth hanging in third for the moment. That camera on the bottom right.
Yeah, he's going to ride that low line, at least for now. Lapsevich up on the high side beneath him. Up in front, that's still JP Bergeron, and is actually putting some distance on him as we look backwards now at the number 20. Expect a lot of these drivers to try and make a little bit of aggressive moves here at the start, knowing this is going to be the easiest time to try and make those passes stick.
It looks like Lapsevich following in suit as well. He'll look underneath on the Sunoco Chevrolet. It looks like they almost make contact. Heading for turn 3, Lapsevich going to hold the bottom. Caruth going to play defense on the top. And Lapsevich's attempt at P3 ultimately gets robbed away, and JP Bergeron still catching up to traffic up ahead. This time your race leader in Ruben Garcia Jr. in his 88 Canels machine, who, by the way, picked up the NASCAR Mexico Series Championship just a couple of weeks ago at Puebla, the oval in Mexico. Wasn't here last week. Of course, we presume he was celebrating that championship, Joe Peak, when we were racing from circuits older. But nice to see Ruben Garcia back in it, still trying to look for his first eNASCAR International iRacing Series win. What a win it would be if the now defending series champion from NASCAR Mexico can get it done.
Well, I'd say that JP is going to give him a hard time for it, the way he caught up. But now it looks like he's struggling now that he's back there. Might be a different story between catching and passing. Watch him slide it off the corner as well. The 7, I noticed, coming off of 2, looks like he's getting a little loose already. So he's got to be careful he doesn't burn up his stuff right away.
You'll see that happen. This track at Darlington can easily expose how loose or how tight or how rough the driver has been racing the car over a run. We're only 7 laps in, so right now those effects won't be felt, but for sure you'll see it by lap 10, lap 15, lap 20. And so if we stay green on this run, you're really going to see those tires start to fall off, and we'll see which drivers have the better car. For right now, Bergeron trying to maximize all that he can. Had a nice run out of turn 2. Unfortunately, could not get it done as they're crashing behind them. As Jake Cosio around, might have had contact with Arthur Gama in the 9 machine. There's Cosio around, but no caution.
Yeah, and Gama got a lot of the wall, so he might still be rolling forwards, but unfortunately he's going to have quite a bit of damage and is well past. Let's see how it happens here. Oh, it was already up to the high side was Gama, and that checked him up. And the 51 thought he maybe had a chance to try and get in there, but it just wasn't meant to be.
He's got a little wide off of turn 2, and that's a big mistake that you can make, an easy one as well. Here at Darlington, you're going so fast at 1 and 2, you're not slowing it down as much, and so you're trying to carry as much pace. You just slide up the track. That car does not want to keep grip on the bottom. And for Cosio in the 51, he goes around. Arthur Gama also getting a piece of the damage. It looks like both of them are going to be able to continue. Cosio, though, limping in 14th, and Arthur Gama holding up P13 for the moment, as it looks like Train Lapsevich has found a way around Raja Caruth for P3, and JP Bergeron has also slipped by Ruben Garcia for the race lead.
Yeah, got it down into turn 1. When you take that inside away from drivers, often you can make that pass as you send it in, but you have to go pretty deep. I thought maybe Trayton was going to try it here, but he's going to back out. It is risky to go too wide. That's why we saw that wreck with that 3 wide earlier. That just does not work. And when you go too wide in there, someone's got to give. You can't both try and take it unless you both are willing to give up time.
You'll see it's attempted pass here by Lapsevich, trying to break into second. Looked forward on the back straightaway underneath the 88 of Ruben Garcia, but cannot quite get the pass complete, so he will stick behind in third, maybe try again. They're all letting JP Bergeron in that number 7, that Ford Mustang, run away for the moment. And Lapsevich coming into this race, like we said at the top of the show, Joe, with a 10-point margin between himself and Victor Barrales in the number 39. The 17-year-old out of Grimsby, Ontario, became the first driver in series history to take a win at both an oval and a road course. Completed that this season at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, adding on to the win he captured in the finale last season at the Phoenix Raceway. So Lapcevich, in his rookie campaign in the NASCAR Pinty Series, and really a young star driver, doing all that he can and still being as fast as ever to make sure he can get his first ever eNASCAR International iRacing Series championship.
Whenever you have that home court advantage, you try to wield it as much as you can, and Trayton certainly did that back at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. So we'll see how he does down south of the border now, and is trying his hand here at Darlington, because it's definitely a different story from most ovals. We watch from Victor's perspective, though, looking forward. We got a bit of a train of four forming behind Garcia, our former leader. It's looking like the car is not as happy over the long run for the 88, because not only is he losing touch with the 7 up front, these 3 look like they really would rather be around him.
And they really would, but the problem is it's been so hard to pass that Garcia's just been able to hold on defensively. It's really let JP Bergeron run away. You see the fanning out almost 3 wide in some sort of cases, in difference of line between the 88, the 20, and the 13. Caruth looking at the bottom, and then the driver behind this trio making it a quartet, the 21 of Justin Campbell out of Griffin, Georgia, the 16-year-old. Started Bandolero Racing in 2016. Looks like Lapcevich might have tagged the outside wall up ahead the road, but Campbell really picking up a lot of steam over recent memory in this series in particular, and picked up a top 8 finish at Circuit Zolder. Did well at the Daytona International Speedway as well. So him and Caruth right now pretty much representing the United States at Drive for Diversity camp. Unfortunately, Ryan Vargas isn't here to join to try and become another time winner here if he can get it from Darlington. But so far, Lapcevich putting the pressure on Ruben Garcia. Can't quite make anything out of it, and they are still letting JP Bergeron run away. 0.7 of a second the difference.
Honestly, I think, whoa, as that's a big wobble there from Ruben, that's going to scare the 20. Trayton going to have to dive down low just to make sure he doesn't get collected. I was about to say, Ruben's doing a good job handling this pressure, because up until there, he wasn't really making mistakes, but he also wasn't defending. I think he's doing what, the traditional advice is for this track, which is race the track, not your competitors. If you got someone fast, let them find a way around you. Don't try and sit and defend. Just run your line and leave it up to them, and you'll probably do what the 88 is doing, which is just hold them up, at least maybe until now, potentially.
I was about to ask on the other side of the car. Oh, Lapcevich makes contact with Garcia, sliding into turn 3. They all check up. Garcia is able to save the race car. They're going to pack everybody in. Here comes Campbell. Here comes Barrales. Here comes Maggi. Here comes everybody else to make it a huge hornet's nest for second on back.
Fantastic stuff by the 21 there. Campbell saw it unfolding, lifted so that he didn't get collected by it, and eventually it came to him when the hole opened. He zipped through there, and it's still not over. Seems like Garcia just about hit the wall again.
And I was about to ask as well, Joe, when you were talking about Garcia, as he goes for a huge slide, he'll tag the outside wall, and he'll drop even more positions. Garcia plummeting through the running order, 8th, 9th, now P10. As he gets passed by the 14 of Alex de Alba, who's trying to fight against Neil Lambert in the 40 machine. They'll go side by side in turn 1. But I was about to ask if Garcia's not playing defense, he's racing the track, and if you're Lapcevich, who was much faster at the time, how were you going to try to get around him? Was it going to be a setup at a turn 2 like it was there? Was it going to be a setup at a turn 4? It was just a big question mark, and it just looks like the contact is made. It sends everybody into every sort of direction, and not only does Lapcevich fall out in the battle for second, he's now back to P7. And there's a look at Garcia and his ailing Toyota Supra.
Yeah, he's going to try and get by the 8 there of Maggi. As you can see him to the inside of the background there. And it looks like he is going to have it using what I talked about down into turn 2. But in answer to your question about making the passes for everyone, it's kind of the duh answer that seems obvious, but a lot of people don't follow it. It's easier to pass in the straights than it is in the corners. You just got to set yourself up to get a good run off the turn so that you can try to get by down the front or back stretch. Because if you keep trying to do it in the corners, you're putting yourself at risk. Now, when it gets to the ends, it might be worth trying if you feel like you have something up your sleeve. But in general, my advice to the drivers would be to try to get the run off the turn.
Here's a look at a battle developing for P11, a pair of drivers, one from the Whelen Euro Series, Elisa Del Sol, the Frenchman, and the number 10 machine. And the driver right in front, the Portuguese driver, rather, the 46, Miguel Gomez. Also both out of the Willian Euro Series. Both of these drivers running 11th and 12th right now on the racetrack. A little bit of damage for either of them, but so far seem to be hanging quite well. And I think with that little scuffle between Garcia and Lapsevich, it really opened things up for everybody in this mid-pack to close in. Potentially have some spots on the way. You ride on board with the 46 of Gomez. The driver out of Lisbon, Portugal, finished 16th in the 2022 Euro NASCAR 2 points, had 3 top 10s. Also had in his rookie season 2021, scored 1 top 10 as well. And it looks like a driver in trouble right in front of him. That is Neil Lambert in the 40, the Frenchman out of the Wheeling Euro Series as well. Going to bring it down to pit road. I think just might have had a tap to the outside wall out of turn 2, wiggled the car and just thought this is enough for me to come down, potentially waste this fast repair early on.
Yeah, I'm checking to see. Yeah, that was a very, very hard hit. He didn't get a meatball flag for that, the black and orange flag that forces you to come in and take repairs so that it's safe to race the car. So this is definitely of his own volition, but this might also be worth the undercut because we're still green up to this point. And Lambert might be able to jump a few people because, as we said, track position is important. Yes, he's going to have older tires, but they got to get by you.
It's really going to matter, and that's going to help if we stay green. Remember, it's pretty much, I believe, just one stop for these drivers to make it all the way to the end. We saw a similar thing happen at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, the last sort of intermediate oval that we had on the schedule, and you can even trace it back to Homestead of Miami Speedway. We had a couple of cautions in that race, but for the most part, it felt like one stop, if it stayed green, would have been the money number, as the 14 of Alex de Alba will look to challenge against Giorgio Maggi in the number 8 machine. That's for P6. Here's a look on board with Justin Campbell, who is now closing in on your race leader, JP Bergeron. So it looks like for now, I think JP Bergeron might have just wasted the tires. Like you said, you don't want to waste your equipment so early on because this is going to be the effect that happens if you stay green. Justin Campbell, who's been able to save his stuff and just kind of wait in between the packs for a while, now starting to unleash the fury and might take the lead away.
It's one of those lessons that's hard to learn, especially when you're a younger driver, and into the wall, the 7 just sent it too hard. I wonder if he got pushed into that by Campbell, just pressuring him until he snapped into the corner.
And guess who that opens the door for? Raja Caruth in the 13. So the 2 American drivers immediately snap away first and second. In a matter of a lap or so, JP Bergeron going to hold on for the outside. But it looks like Caruth might win that battle after all. And Bergeron already now suffering with that race car. And even worse so, Joe, with that tap to the outside wall. It only takes one. Really, a huge slap or even a little tank slap, it's really going to matter aerodynamically, and it's really going to hurt the effect of the race car behind the wheel. Here's a look at Bergeron and how much he's really having to fight the Ford Mustang carrying out of the banking and exit turn 2. So Bergeron really struggling. I think he may start to pray a little bit for that first pit stop that we may have under green.
Oh, he's getting right up to the outside wall. He's still pushing it hard. And let's see how it is off of 4. That looked okay. So maybe it's just 2 that out of corner 2 that he's maybe feeling a little bit of that damage as we look a little farther back at that battle between Maggi and Alba here. This is for the 6th position currently. But yeah, I was about to say before he got into the wall there is you need the patience. You need to know that it's a long race because honestly, even if it doesn't go green, you think about those cautions coming out. And if people do stay out, if you've got fresh tires or fresher tires and the one in front of you does not, then you're sitting well. Yes, track position's important. They took that quickly, but sometimes it pays to just bide your time and let the race come to you.
I've seen that happen for a lot of drivers in the field. You were watching a battle in the top 6. That was Alex de Alba, Giorgio Maggi, the 14 and the 8. Both drivers out of the Mexico Series and the Wheeling Euro Series, respectively. And you look on board with Raja Caruth, who has moved into 2nd. We saw him get by JP Bergeron a couple of laps ago, and is already putting the heat to Justin Campbell in the 21. So the 2 drivers out of Drive for Diversity making their case known. And Raja Caruth, despite being one of the most consistent drivers in the series, has not been able to get a 2nd win. He'll give a bump and run to the 21 of Justin Campbell coming out of turn 2, and we're door to door for the race lead.
There's a big hello there from the 13. Good job by Justin. That was an amazing catch. It's always so tough here if you start to get loose because it is so narrow. You're pitched down onto the banking, or onto the flat, rather, off the banking. And whenever you transition like that, the car is a little bit unpredictable. And he just caught it amazingly.
A beautiful save by Campbell, and Carruth just trying to carry as much speed as possible at the exit of turn 2, and obviously was going to hit the 21 if he hadn't moved out of the way. Didn't want to ignore the run he was building, and unfortunately gets into Campbell, but luckily they both stay clean, will stay green. We do have a driver on pit road as Train Lapsevich, your points leader, has settled his way into third. Here's a look on board with the 17-year-old out of Canada, and I believe there's a couple of drivers in. I believe one of them is Jake Cosio, the number 51, so indeed bring the Havoline machine in for service. So Cosio will come in, the driver out of Mexico City, Mexico, grabbed 2 top 5s and 5 top 10s so far in 2022 out of the Mexico Series. You look on board with Lapsevich as he hunts down Campbell for P2, and this is definitely good if you're Lapsevich here, Joe, because, again, 10-point buffer he has going into tonight's race versus Victor Barrales, and Barrales is starting to plummet. In fact, Barrales is going down to the apron. He's going to step down pit road at lap 32, so Lapsevich right now with the advantage, and if he holds through and holds fort, this should be an easy championship if we get to the second half and it stays this way.
Yeah, but already back out on the track, Cosio is, I think, kind of illustrating how much the tires are worth. Because remember, Lambert pitted early? Well, he's actually jumped him by a pretty big margin. But Lambert, we have to remember, is going to now have older tires as they go side by side there through 3 and 4. They're going to make it out the other side. So I'm expecting Cosio to start to really blast past a lot of drivers.
You saw a bit of contact entering turn 3. I believe the second time Lapsevich has faced contact with another driver entering that corner. The 21 at Campbell, fortunately, they both get away scot-free. We did have a driver come in for pit road. A little bit of a struggle for Alex de Alba in the 14, but he has since made his stop. So now we play the waiting game, Joe. A lot of drivers at the front now going to have to look for pit road at some point because Victor Barrales, you look at Jake Cosio, now you look at drivers like Andres Perez de Lara, or rather Alex de Alba. Here's Ruben Garcia, Miguel Gomez come in for service. Now they're going to have the fresh tires, so you don't want to get caught up on the undercut and unfortunately get caught up at the wrong places. There's Garcia coming in and Gomez to follow.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing about the undercut, too, is that if they try and pit in response and find themselves behind, they're not going to have enough of a tire advantage to try and get by and use the overcut, if you will. They've got to make it drastically different enough that there, well, is a difference, frankly. So you're kind of stuck in this. So they pitted a few laps before the halfway point. I'd expect to see guys like Raja and Lapsevich start to come in a couple more laps.
Raja right behind some of the lap traffic, one of them being Gordon Barnes, who was involved in a lap 1 scuffle. It did not cause a caution. The driver out of Colchester, United Kingdom, the back-to-back Euro Series Club Challenge champion. It looks like the 148 going to be put another lap down as the 13 easily moves by, and Lapsevich trying to catch up to take the lead away with 35 laps to go. We'll see if that changes hands before they head for the pit lane. Got a couple of more drivers in. Bergeron, the number 7, has come in. So has Elisa Dosson, the number 10 machine. So already getting more batches of cars coming in for service right around this halfway mark, lap 37 of 70 in the final race of this D-Box eNASCAR International iRacing Series powered by Digital Motorsports. And one thing that we really haven't talked about as well, Joe, is the difficulty of pit road entry. This track is just so unique in so many ways that you cannot compare the pit entry to a typical 1.5 mile over or typical to a super speedway or somewhat comparative to a short track on the NASCAR schedule or even the road courses. It's just such a tough route to the pit lane. You have to hit the brakes, slow down, go all the way to the apron, and there's so much space that you have to turn left into the lane and make sure you get to that wall, because if you don't, you can easily overshoot or smack into the pit road barrows. It's a really difficult entry, and so for the drivers up front, they have to keep that in mind to make sure they don't, 1, lose time, or 2, get caught up in a crash by themselves.
Yeah, and it all comes back to that history yet again, because remember, that was supposed to be the racing surface down there, so that's why it's so far away, and they just never changed it. It does make it incredibly tough, because these cars weren't really meant to try and do that, to suddenly dive onto flat and brake like it's a road course. But the 13 currently is just kind of plugging away up here. Raja doesn't seem to be doing what I had warned against about coming in immediately in response. He's staying out there to try and make sure that he has enough of a difference. Yes, he's going to lose the lead most likely, but he'll have better tires. And we can't forget, there's a lot of drivers trapped a lap down that if we get a yellow, he'll be sitting even better. He's also saving a bit of fuel as we ride on board, which is interesting. But Lapsevich has caught him, and he is going to take the position, and neither of these drivers have pitted yet, so they're on even footing.
Yeah, Lapsevich not wasting any time to get closer to the 13, and like you heard there, Raja Karuth is indeed clutching, so trying to save some fuel and make it at least as far as he can, because those fresh tires are going to matter, and going to matter in a big way, especially here at Darlington, where they really wear off. There really is a huge discrepancy between having fresh tires and having worn rubber. So we'll see exactly how far the 13 can stretch it. Looks like Lapsevich really isn't following suit in that strategy, wants to push as hard as he can. And Lapsevich may indeed take over the race lead. We'll just see when that 13 gives that cue to come down for service. It looks like this time into turn 3, none of them will do so, and that includes everybody in the top 4. Never mind, top 3. Looks like 4th place, Giorgio Maggi in the number 8 machine, the driver out of Switzerland, who was 5th in eNASCAR Pro points with 1 pole. 6 top 5s, goes around at the entrance of the pit lane.
Yeah, that's a perfect illustration of just how tough it is. Good recovery, though. He got it back around, if not without a few contacts with the wall, but I think he should be mostly okay after that. Well, once again, we're seeing it's one thing to catch, it's another to pass, because the 20 is just kind of stuck here behind the 13 now that he's got here. He had a good go at it, tried to see if he could use that momentum, but the 13 shut him down.
13, despite clutching and coasting in a turn 1, has been able to hold on to the lead, and Lapsevich trying all that he can to break that bubble, but it has been rather impossible. Both of these drivers with at least 1 win in this eNASCAR International iRacing Series. Lapsevich looking for his 3rd, Karuth looking for his 2nd, and Lapsevich again will strike down low in turn 3 to no avail, He'll back out, and that'll only creep in Justin Campbell, who has settled into 3rd. Kind of fell back from the 13 and the 20, Joe, but Campbell making some solid progress, and I think this is what he likes to see. These top 2 going at it for position. Lapsevich getting held up as Karuth is saving, and Campbell can pounce on both.
Yeah, but he's got to not get too caught up in eating the popcorn as he watches there, because he just slapped the wall off of turn 4. So his car is struggling. These old tires are not just about pace, it's about handling. And yep, he's going to say, okay, enough's enough. I've put enough distance in. Let's take the stop and get fresh rubber.
Another driver coming in for service, and like you said, the 21, Justin Campbell, so the Griffin, Georgia native, going to come in for service, and he'll get some 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles and some fuel on the way as well, as continuously Lapsevich tries to break against that 13, but can't quite do it. And it's just been a tough route for Lapsevich, and I'm not sure whether, at this point, whether he's still trying to make this pass complete, or whether at this point he's kind of accepted his fate and be like, hey, I'll just wait behind you until we get to that pit road strategy. But Karuth really is slowing down significantly. But the fact that he is saving the fuel and Lapsevich really isn't, you can tell just on the expression there from the 20 of Lapsevich's face, just how much he's had to work to try and get around the 13, but it really hasn't came to success. And now there may be a pass for second. That's Neil Lambert in the 40 machine, who has came down pit road with a 22 laps ago on a stint. Fresher tires, and Lambert may take the race lead away.
He's a lap down from these two, but he's going to get that lap back. I think more critically, as they're both going to come in now, so that's their cue. They figure once the drivers are getting their lap back, might as well try and take the stop, because they might actually go a lap down from them now as they come back around. So they've got a lot of work to do to try and make up, and now they have to hope that we don't get a caution from here, even though before they were looking for one. The other thing is that this, and looks like another smack to the wall for Lambert.
Yeah, Lambert, who just took over the race lead, or rather not took over the race lead, but was in P3, had unlapped himself from your leaders who came down pit road. I was about to mention him, and it looks like the position just changed. That was JP Bergeron to go around, who right now has the net race lead from Train Lapsevich and Raja Karuth, who are still on the pit lane. So now the 7 will take the race lead away. Lambert will steal second. Alex de Alba will move for third. And now it's a full-on battle between the 13 and the 20 coming out of the pit lane. Karuth will win that fight against Lapsevich. And now it's just a matter of waiting into these final 23.5 laps into how they will settle through on the fresh tires and who may have the upper hand overall. Right now, JP Bergeron, a solid gap over Neil Lambert, and the whole field completely swiveled. And also to know, Victor Barrales has stepped into 6, Lapsevich down to 11. So keep that in mind in the case for the championship.
So the situation here is that the 7 is running 31s, pretty low 31s right now. When drivers come out of pits, looks like they're able to hit about 30.4 to 30.2, so low 30s. So you have about a second pace over those 11 to 12 laps between their 2 pit stops. There's a little bit of side-by-side there coming out of 4 between Lambert and De Alba. Alex is going to be able to get that second place. Lambert is pretty much suffering because, remember, he pitted extremely early. I think about 13 laps or so earlier than most everybody else.
And right now on lap 26 of a stint, you look at Alex De Alba, who made his way by for second, only 15 laps in the stint. So indeed, a pretty big difference, and it matters at a track like Darlington. Alex De Alba looking for his second straight podium. Final 2 races of this season, the 25-year-old out of San Luis Potosi, Mexico, out of the NASCAR Mexico Series and the Challenge Series, which has somewhat of a similar structure to how it works in the United States. They have 3 different series. They have the Mexico Series proper, which was won by Ruben Garcia in the 88 machine, the champion for this year. Alex De Alba, who drives in the Challenge Series, sort of the Xfinity Series for Mexico, and then the Truck Series for Mexico, the 3rd-tier series for them. So somewhat of a similar structure, and the 14 of Alex De Alba now moves into second as there's Lapsevich making his way and still trying to catch Roger Caruth for what might be the inevitable race lead. We'll just see how rubber fares into the equation.
Let's see, last lap was a 30.8 for Lapsevich, and it looks like as he crosses the line, 31.4. Ooh, the passing traffic has really held up the 20. That's where this strategy can really fall apart, trying to make those overtakes.
It's going to matter here. Passing going to be very important at a track that has been very difficult too, as the 7 of Jean-Philippe Bergeron continues to lead this race into 18 laps to go. Well, if you want to learn more about the growing world of eNASCAR, you can scan the QR code on the bottom right of your screen or visit eNASCAR.com and sign up today to get all the latest news and updates from eNASCAR Road to Pro, the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, and more. Later tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, here on this iRacing Twitch channel, we will have coverage of the final round of the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series, and that will come in just a little bit, so stick around here on iRacing proper and eNASCAR.com/live. You can scan that QR code to get all the latest details and updates and who will get into the 2023 camp of eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series talent. Here's a look at Miguel Gomez, now hunting on NASCAR Mexico Series champion Ruben Garcia in the 88. Miguel Gomez has certainly picked things up since the start of this race show. He was kind of in the mid-pack, hanging around, picked up a little bit of damage, got the faster pair though on his stop, a clean 46 Camaro, and now hunting in on Garcia for what could be an entrance into the podium for the first time.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was talking about letting the race come to you. Stay patient, make sure that that you don't risk the car, and just make good decisions in the moment. You don't know what's coming, and you can always try to prepare, but you just have to stay in the moment and make sure that you're kind of dealing with what's in front of you. And right now, the 46, well, he looked like he was going to try and make a move as we watch Lapsevich now start to approach on low. And unfortunately, well, no, he might be able to get the 10. He's going to have to rough him up a little bit, and they both get into the wall.
Noso smacks the outside wall. Gordon Barnes goes by. He's a lap car, so that won't affect position, but Lapsevich again in drama on track. And we talked about Lapsevich inside the top 10, still in it, but now moved up a spot. He's into 9th, and him and Caruth continue to play catch-up on the entire field, and it's been such a trouble spot for them. As here's Campbell looking underneath Victor Barrales in the number 39, and will drop another spot and some more points lost to Lapsevich. And now here comes Caruth bullying his way by. He'll give a shot to the rear bumper, and it won't work, but Caruth is there, and Lapsevich is not too far behind either.
As far as the going long strategy, the 21 probably made the better call. I'd say that Lapsevich and Caruth just waited a little too long for that one. In fact, I almost need to say that Campbell probably should have pitted about 2 or 3 laps earlier to try and make the best of it, because he was losing time during that time. But he's eating it up. He's got 8 laps to go, or 8 seconds to go with 14 laps. I think he's got the pace to try and chase down the leader.
I mean, they've been some of the fastest cars tonight, but you also look at, yes, you do have 14 laps to go, but these guys, Lapsevich and Caruth respectively, will probably have to use their tires a lot more than everybody up at the front. So although Bergeron, De Alba, Garcia, Gomez, Campbell, they're all somewhat on a tire deficit compared to Caruth and Lapsevich, they're really not going to have to use as much as their stuff as Lapsevich and Caruth have to in these final 13 laps to catch up to the front. It's 8 seconds. It's quite a lot here at a track like Darlington, so you have to do all that you can, and we may see them step into the top 5, maybe the top 3, but again, time may not be on their side, and if things equalize between themselves and the traffic in front, that's only going to make matters worse. And you're right on board with Caruth, who is now kind of became an accordion effect with Justin Campbell, Miguel Gomez, and Ruben Garcia. Remember, Garcia was holding off Gomez and has done a nice job of doing that, but has allowed Campbell and Caruth to slowly creep towards, and also bringing in Lapsevich further into the picture as well. They both go side by side for position number 5, and Campbell will lose that to the 13 for a moment, still side by side, back to turn 1.
Yeah, Campbell, unfortunately, was in a bad spot as he's going to have to give it up to the 13 there. I was going to say he couldn't back it up like he needed to because he's got so much better pace in those cars. Now he can. Well, and he tried to get the shot past the 46, but picked the wrong side of the track. So that's essentially what it is here, is when you're tucked up behind those cars, you're not going to make the moves. Give them some breathing space, time your runs, and pass them on the straight.
There's a look at Caruth hunting down on Garcia. This would be a pass complete for P3. Garcia slides up the track entrance, turn 1. Here comes Caruth to the inside, a challenge for second. And now checked off the box. Campbell next to follow out of the same corner. Looks like Garcia's going to give this spot up this time. Not going to fight that 21 and offer him a lot of resistance. So it's now up to Caruth to potentially snag second away with Alex de Alba a couple of car lengths ahead. And this is going to be big as well, Joe, if you're trained Lapsevich, because you're watching Roger Caruth pick off driver after driver, and yet Lapsevich is here stuck in 7th.
Yeah, this is where he needs that pace. He needs to try and get aggressive. This is where you throw caution to the wind and you start making some moves that put the car in a little bit more risk, because if you want to go for the win, then you're going to have to break a few eggs to do it. So they've got 10 laps to go. I don't think Lapsevich has anything from here with 9 seconds up to the leaders. Caruth, though, is really hunting down Bergeron. It's down to 6 seconds. I know that time is limited, but he is massively fast.
6.5 seconds at closing, and you look at the last lap by either driver, first and second. Bergeron set a 31.931. Caruth on his side, 31 flat, as Alex de Alba whips the car sideways, will give up spots to Garcia and to Gomez, maybe even to Lapsevich in P7. The 14 hangs on to the Mustang and keeps it alive inside 8 laps to go.
Are we sure he's not a Japanese drift driver? Because the thing is going very sideways. And 14 it looks like he's got it now, because that was a little better off of 4. Well, the real tell will be here through 1 and 2. But we've focused a little bit ahead of him now. As Lapsevich, man, again, he's not timing it right. He needs to back it up and really set himself up. And he's just hugging too close to the rear of Gomez.
Well, luckily for Lapsevich, the win won't necessarily be in the cards, at least in terms of the championship, because he is still ahead of Victor Morales, as that's Arthur Gama in the number 9 machine heading for the outside wall in 3 and 4. Lapsevich should hold on to the championship lead if things remain this way inside the final 7 laps from the virtual Darlington Raceway in South Carolina. So here's one of the drivers making his debut in this eNASCAR International iRacing Series, and he's from the newly minted NASCAR Brazil Sprint Race Series, announced for 2023 a couple of months back. So NASCAR in collaboration with the GT Sprint Race Series out in Brazil, and a great announcement by those two. And again, Joe, the testament to the expanding world of NASCAR internationally across many different countries and continents across the globe. And with Arthur Gama, a great young talent, 17 years old, out of Rio Grande do Sul, and the 2022 NASCAR Brazil Sprint Race Pro-Am champion and Rookie of the Year with 5 wins on the calendar. It's safe to say that Brazil is going to be an excellent addition to the NASCAR world, and awesome to see Gama entering this eNASCAR International iRacing Series, where this is the rare opportunity for all those continents and all those series to converge together.
Absolutely, and I love that NASCAR is taking that lesson. It doesn't matter where you're from. If you can wheel a car, you can wheel a car. And they want to see anybody try and show their hand at such a unique and American sport here with oval racing. Not really many other places that have that many oval tracks as we do over here.
And it's awesome for Gama as well, making his debut. Hopefully we'll see more of Arthur Gama and even more NASCAR Brazil Series talent once we get to the next season of the D-Box eNASCAR International iRacing Series, powered by Digital Motorsports. It feels like every single year this series only continues to expand in driver base and in schedule diversity. We had our debut of a 2-mile super speedway in Daytona International Speedway this season, a debut of Darlington tonight as the final race of the campaign. So it's definitely been amazing to see the progression of this series and to watch all these talented drivers from across the globe that if you're just a fan of American stock car racing, you won't necessarily notice, but this is a place where people from the United States who don't know about these series can take note of these drivers and to potentially become fans of them and watch all the different types of NASCAR across the globe. Here's the battle for the race lead brewing, and it may be decided inside 3 laps to go. Carruth has the 7 of Bergeron in his sights, and he is chasing for his second eNASCAR International iRacing Series win.
All the way up to the outside at 2, brushing the wall. Look at them try to cut underneath. This is going to be it here, coming to 2 to go. If he can get the shot off the corner, and he does, I think Carruth has it.
Carruth will make that pass. Can Bergeron respond? Back to turn 1 with 2 laps to go. Carruth has been absolutely flying with his Chevrolet Camaro and is now pulling away 4/10 of a second, 5/10 of a second, more car lengths of a distance. Justin Campbell slowly catching up in the background out of turn 2, and Carruth looking for the white flag from Darlington.
This was a real masterclass from Raja, because I mean, even behind the scenes, there was some hemming and hawing from the production team here, wondering, can he actually do this? And it started to seem, I even said, it looked like they waited a little bit too late. But the thing is, he made the moves when he had to. He made the passes, and that made the difference.
We've seen Carruth on the iRacing service and in real life as a very aggressive driver, willing to take risks, willing to do all that he can to get to a victory. He did that with the strategy, came all the way back, and out of turn 4, second win in the eNASCAR International iRacing Series for Drive for Diversity driver Raja Carruth in the 13. And as Traden Lapcevich comes onto the front straightaway for P4, Traden Lapcevich wins the 2022 D-Box eNASCAR International iRacing Series powered by Digital Motorsports Championship.
That was a champion's run right there, not giving up. He did what he needed to do against his rivals. Sometimes it's not as glamorous to points race, but you got to do what you got to do to get the championship. And you can't treat every race like you need to be the center of the spotlight. So credit to the 20 for holding it together.
There's Lapcevich making his way onto the front straightaway, and for the 3rd season in a row, the drivers in contention for the championship do not get to victory lane. Instead, it's a third party, and it's Raja Carruth ready to start the party from Darlington, South Carolina. He'll burn it down on the front straightaway, and Lapcevich, the Canadian, will soon join him on the celebration efforts as Lapcevich captures the championship. A young teenager from Canada, and an unbelievable season he put together. There he is at a complete stop near the start-finish line as Carruth continues his celebration and the smoke show. And just an unbelievable season put together. Oh, what a drive as well, Joe. I mean, Lapcevich, despite not in contention for the win entirely with Carruth at the end, being on the same strategy, P4 is still a miraculous comeback. And for Carruth, as aggressive as he was in that second half, we questioned whether he was able to catch up to traffic in time. He did just that into the final laps, and an absolutely clutch performance by Carruth to take the checker.
Yeah, and now we're going to get the burn down from the 20 to celebrate the championship here, which is just as important. Yeah, I think Carruth is going to be a big talent to watch here, because that was a great move. Followed exactly what I was talking about, just waiting and waiting, make sure that you had the tire advantage, and then put the laps down as soon as he was out, really just slicing through the cars like they were nothing. And that aggressiveness that you mentioned is probably going to pay off as he goes on.
So Raja Carruth goes to victory lane. Traden Lapcevich becomes the 3rd different champion in eNASCAR International iRacing Series. history. We'll take a short break, but on the other side, we'll have interviews with your top 3 and more post-race heading into the end of the season. So don't go anywhere. We've got more on iRacing's coverage next.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
That's probably the first time that I've forgotten that I was on a simulator, and that was amazing.
It's so cool and so realistic and gives you the ultimate feel and the most realistic feel.
I loved the bumps. They really made me feel like, really realistic.
This is engaging all of your senses.
Back live from the virtual Darlington Raceway in this final race of the D-Box eNASCAR International iRacing Series powered by Digital Motorsports, and we have a winner at the end of 70 grueling laps here at the track too tough to tame. It's Rajah Carew taking his second career eNASCAR International iRacing Series win, both of them coming at ovals. His first one at Homestead, second here at Darlington in a clutch performance to get around Jean-Philippe Bergeron, the Canadian, who comes home in P2. Got to give a lot of credit to Bergeron on his raw pace all night long. Justin Campbell completes the top 3, so 2 drivers in your top 3 out of the Driver Diversity camp. Great run for Campbell in his number 21 machine. And Traden Lapsevich, it's not a win, but P4 is good enough to get him the eNASCAR International iRacing Series Championship. Portuguese driver Miguel Gomez out of Euro NASCAR ends up inside the top 5. Ruben Garcia Jr. in the 88 ends up P6. It'll be Victor Barrales 7th on the charts. Not enough to get to that championship buffer and get around Lapsevich for the title. Jordan Giomaggi in the number 8 machine comes home in P8. Ulysse Delso, the Frenchman, will arrive in P9. And Neil Lambert in the number 40 becomes the last driver on the lead lap and the last one in the top 10.
D'Alba was 11th, followed by Barnes there in the 12th spot. Gama win his first time out. Looks like he struggled a little bit, but still put in a decent performance, finishing 13th. Cosio and Cosio back-to-back for the two Cosios. Going to wind up there in 15th and 16th, and then Perez de Lara rounding out the field of 17.
So 17 cars full from Darlington, South Carolina, but the focus is on one driver who's into victory lane for the second time in his eNASCAR International iRacing Series career, and it is Rajah Carew, the 13, who joins us from the victory circle. Rajah, what an unbelievable performance. First of all, though, just walk us through that decision, you and Lapsevich, to stay out as long as you both did for the fresh tires at the end.
Yeah, bro, I'm not even gonna lie. Was not paying attention to gas at all. I was literally just driving, and then I seen he pitted, and then I was like, "Oh snap! I probably should need to look at my relative or whatever," because I looked at it like however many laps was left, and so seeing that it was going to be close, and then I seen Justin pitted, and I was like, oh, probably should bring it down soon. And then I saw Trayton was pitting that same lap, so I was like, just bring it in and see what we got.
And you were able to make it work, and you were really pushing in that last stint, chopping off driver after driver after driver. Did you have any concern that you may have not had enough time left to catch up to the race leader, or were you confident enough in your ability to just move through the field and get around Jean-Philippe Bergeron like you did in those final two?
Yeah, bro, I can't even front. I did not think I was gonna get there. When I cleared them guys and got clean racetrack, and it was said 8 seconds, that I really did not think it was possible. So, the Sunoco Chevy was really good. I can't thank Sunoco for their support of me, along with Sim Seats, and Harris and Emily Lou made a great Chevy paint scheme for me to drive tonight. So, it's fun to get the win in the finale of this race, and for Dead Zone and NASCAR Drive for Diversity. So I think that was probably my last one as well. So it was a fun night.
First win in this series since Homestead, Miami, back in season 2. You have 2 oval wins in your resume in this series. But finally, before we let you go to celebrate from Darlington, what does it mean to go back to victory lane and to grab another win in a series that has had so much competition, not only just within yourself and the American driver Justin Campbell alongside you, but just the overall international talent as well?
Yeah, for sure. It's important, and it's a great mental help to win anything. And no matter what division, what series, even if it's just an official race, all the way up until a division of this level, or even the eNASCAR Contender or Coca-Cola iRacing Series. So to win anything is huge, because it's a culmination of the work you put in, and to get one this year. And I felt like Vegas I got wrecked for that one, and didn't race the other one. So to finalize it and cap it off with the win is great, and great to have race against drivers of these caliber over the last year or so.
Certainly must be great to end the season on a W. Raja, congratulations on behalf of all of us at the broadcast crew. Hopefully we get to see you maybe sometime soon on the track on iRacing, or maybe in the other season next, maybe, of the eNASCAR International iRacing Series. Congratulations and happy holidays.
Thanks, guys. I'll definitely see y'all around.
So Raja Karuth makes the clutch pass inside 3 laps to go and gets his second career eNASCAR International iRacing Series victory. We'll catch up with the driver who comes just short, though, P2, though, for the 7 of Jean-Philippe Bergeron, who's caught up with Joe Peak.
Absolutely, Jean-Philippe. You were kind of on the reverse side of things. You pitted early. I'm going to guess that was a lot more intentional than Raja, who just kind of slipped into his strategy accidentally. Were you surprised that they were able to catch up to you? Because it certainly seemed like the 13 didn't expect to catch you.
Well, I was surprised. I did a few rookie mistakes. First of all, I think I hate this track like a lot of drivers. The Lady in Black definitely caught me a few times in the first run, so I had to pit early. I figured out that if there wasn't any caution for the first 30 laps, we were probably going to run caution free until the end. So I tried my shot. That was the only way trying to reach Raja. Uh, I expected him to run back down to me, but I didn't expect him to run that fast. So I mean, I came just short, like two laps or so. I got stuck in the lap cars. They gave him more room than what I got. So I feel like it's a shame to come short, but still glad of finishing up the season on a strong note.
When he caught you there at the end, it's usually known for being a bit tough to try and pass here. Did you kind of let him through, or were you trying to fight that as hard as you could?
I tried fighting a bit just on entry, I think, of turn 1, if I'm not mistaken. But I didn't want to bring the battle too hard, because I know we'll probably both wreck, and I didn't want to wreck, especially having that much of a gap with this third place behind us. So I wanted to at least secure a podium finish. So I'm glad that we did for our Ford Prolon Ford Mustang, but we'll have to come back next year and try to win this thing.
It's been a very interesting schedule for this series, with a good variety of tracks. How did you feel about going between the road courses and actually a decent smattering of different types of ovals? Did you enjoy that?
I did, of course, enjoy this. I'm fairly new guy to road race. This year in the Pinty series was my first time I would actually race road racing in big cars. So it was an adaptation for me. But I mean, we do half and half in the Pinty series as well. So just I think it represents their season we usually do.
Well, it was fun getting to watch you. Sorry it wasn't the W, but congratulations on the podium.
Thank you, man.
As Jean-Philippe Bergeron finished second today, only 2 seconds behind. If it was 2 laps shorter, he might have had it there, Kenny.
So nonetheless, a great finish from the NASCAR Pinty Series driver. And now we are joined by the second driver in the top 3 out of the Drive for Diversity camp, and that is the 21 of Justin Campbell. First of all, Justin, congratulations on the P3 effort here tonight from Darlington. For second of all, what was it like behind the wheel? What were the challenges you had to face?
Thank you. Well, the first few laps, we kind of just did it, kind of just saved tires and rode behind the leaders for a little bit and kind of let them make their mistakes and kind of get past them. And we're able to lead a few laps in the middle of the race. Sort of kind of fell back with a little bit of tire wear, but unfortunately got into a few incidents and kind of lost all my tires there. So decided to pit for a little bit, grab fresh tires, see if I can catch back up to the leaders, but was able to get third place out of it. So I enjoyed this series a lot. So yeah.
And of course, like many others in the series this season, you were a part of the last campaign we had of the eNASCAR International iRacing Series. What was the comparison like between last season and this one? I know there were a lot of new tracks, Darlington, Daytona included in that as well. What was the mindset going into this season and how you feel it is after this season compared to the last?
Well, I feel like this season was a lot of fun. I'm kind of glad they added a few ovals in there to kind of add a little bit of like mixture into the series. I still need to work on my road courses a little bit, but compared to last season, I feel like everybody's a lot more competitive on the ovals and on the road courses, of course. But I've really had a lot of fun for these past 3 series I competed in.
It's definitely been a lot of fun watching you out on the track. I think final question before we let you go on the P3 finish from Darlington, South Carolina. I asked the same thing to Raja Karuth. What does it mean for you as a driver representing the Drive for Diversity camp in NASCAR to face the drivers from the Pinty Series, from the Mexico Series, from the Euro NASCAR Series? What does it mean to you to get on here in the sim every couple of weeks, and even if it's in the winter this time around, and compete against them and try to go for wins in a series like this?
It's just, I guess, bring diverse to the sport, but it's a lot of fun to see like people from different series, how like they compete against each other, because we all have different types of driving styles, I guess you could say so like that. But not many people in this series do a lot of ovals, I don't think, but it shows that who does a lot of road courses and who does a lot of ovals and stuff like that.
Well, Justin, we certainly appreciate the time. On behalf of the broadcast team, congratulations on the P3 from Darlington. Hopefully we get to see you in the next edition of the eNASCAR International iRacing Series. But until then, once again, congratulations on the finish. Happy holidays. We'll see you then.
Thank you. You too.
So that is Justin Campbell out of the Drive for Diversity camp to take away P3. And finally, it is our time to take a moment and speak with the driver who will hoist the D-Box eNASCAR International iRacing Series powered by Digital Motorsports trophy for this edition in 2022. And that is NASCAR Pinty Series star Trayden Lapcevich in the number 20 Trayden. First of all, thank you for joining us. Congratulations on the championship this season, but walk us through your emotions and how you feel on the 4th place finish from Darlington and the season you were able to put away altogether.
Yeah, I mean, first off, just a huge thanks to everyone at D-Box, Digital Motorsports, NASCAR, for putting this on for us. I mean, it's really cool to have this in the off-season, especially in Canada when our off-seasons are so long. So big thanks to all of them for giving us the opportunity to do this. In the race today, I mean, P4, not really what would have liked, because I think we had winning speed, but I just kind of did what I had to do. I was extremely cautious through the lap cars, and obviously that's what set me back a lot, but I just needed to keep it out of trouble and stay alive. So just overall, a great season. Big thanks to everyone at RGC Sports, Quick FBM, for all they do for me both in real life and in the sim. And hopefully we can get to the real track soon.
A quick question about the details of this race in particular. You alongside Raja Karuth were the last drivers to come in for service for fresh tires, and you both had to chase your way back up through the pack to get the finishing positions that you did. So walk us through that strategy, the decision behind it, and obviously the aftermath of it as you were trying to get back up.
Yeah, I mean, we probably pitted a little later than we should have. We might have been better off to come down a couple laps earlier. It seemed like JP and Justin got a little too far ahead when we come back out. But I mean, no, really, it was the lap traffic that killed me the most. It just seemed like I was catching every lap car at the worst place possible, and then obviously Darlington's not really a place you want to run side by side with anyone. So, like I said, I mean, it was really just staying alive, not getting caught up in any messes, which was really what I was focused on. Obviously, it would have been nice to win the race, but ultimately the championship was the big picture, and that's what we did here today.
You set a couple of records tonight at the end of this race from Darlington. Number one, the first driver in series history to win at both a road course and an oval, doing that at Phoenix and Canadian Tire over the past 2 seasons. Third different driver to win an eNASCAR International iRacing Series Championship. So for you, how important and how significant has it been to run in this series as such a young driver and to compete with so many different drivers across different levels of eNASCAR and NASCAR international talent?
Yeah, no, like I said, just a huge thanks to D-Box and Digital Motorsports for doing this for us. I mean, it's not every day you get to race with other NASCAR drivers across the world. So really cool. Got a variety of new tracks in, different tracks that I probably wouldn't have raced otherwise if I wasn't doing it in the sim here. And yeah, I mean, winning on a road course in the oval was really cool. I feel like doing this series in particular and having the opportunities to run more road courses really helped me step up my game in the sim on road courses, and I think that will also translate on into real life as well.
Final question before we let you go, trading on the championship. You've got it. You've got the virtual or maybe physical trophy if they give it to you. What's the method of celebration for this championship in this series?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much just be celebrating with the guys that helped me here in the sim. My brother, I had him being the crew chief tonight, figure out when we're going to pit all that stuff, and then Jonathan Platt for spotting. So big thanks to them. We'll keep using iRacing until the real season comes around here in Canada. Fortunately, it's not going to be for a few months yet, but really excited to get back into 2023.
A stellar real-life season in the Pinty Series, a stellar season here on eNASCAR International iRacing Series competition. You are the champion. Congratulations on the title for 2022. Hopefully, we see you into the next edition of the series. I know you went from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park winner to driving at the Sim Racing Expo in Germany, in Daytona, and now a championship again. Congratulations on behalf of all of us at the broadcast team. We'll see you soon, and happy holidays.
Thank you, guys. Happy holidays to you guys as well.
So it's Traden Lapcevich, the Canadian and the driver of the 20 machine, to P4 at the end of this race from Darlington and to your championship this season for the eNASCAR International iRacing Series. Just a couple of things before we wrap up our broadcast and transition to what's going to be the finale for the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series later on at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can still have the opportunity to sign up for this one-of-a-lifetime contest. If you're an avid sim racer, you would love the rewards, and you can win a Digital Motorsports NASCAR simulator outfitted with a D-Box haptic technology using electric motors. It comes with a play seat rig, racing seat and brackets, Fanatec direct drive base, a NASCAR wheel, V3 pedals, shifter, all provided by Fanatec, a floor stand mount, and a Samsung 49-inch curved screen, and of course the D-Box haptic system, noted as the best motion system on the market. You can sign up at dbox.com/eNASCAR/contest, and you have until tomorrow, December 21st. So if you haven't signed up already for this contest and the giveaway, be sure to do so. Another opportunity also on tap with iRacing. If you're not on iRacing already, well, now is the right time to do it for everybody on the sim. 50% off you'll have on all new memberships through January 8th in the new year for 2023. So get on track today and start your own iRacing career at iRacing.com. Well, Joe, finally capping off a 70-lap feature from Darlington and a 5-race series featuring multiple different ovals, multiple different road courses, so many different obstacles, and yet it is the young teenager from Canada, Traden Lapcevich, hoisting the trophy for this year. You have to give props on just an unbelievable season he was able to put together, but always, Joe, always, whenever we get to gather this amount of talent and these drivers from the international scene on NASCAR, it is just so much fun, no matter who's lifting the title.
Yeah, and I think what we saw today really demonstrates the talent that's out there, because 17 drivers is a slightly small field for an oval race typically, and yet we had good racing throughout. There was no lack of action, and it's not like we saw drivers that were massively off the pace compared to each other. Everybody was bringing their A game on this one, and you could tell it meant something to them.
It felt like in each of the 5 races, there was always a certain highlight to note. Race number 1, Las Vegas, the strategy there at that track, the hot track temperature in the desert, Victor Morales getting his first career eNASCAR International iRacing Series win. Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, Lapsevich defending home ground in Canada, having that last fight in the last corner from Paul Jufro before holding him off for his win. And then you look at Daytona, Ryan Vargas in his debut start, going from 9th to 1st in a matter of half a lap on the racetrack to go for the win. And then you look at Circuit Zolder, the youngster and the Frenchman Paul Jufro getting his first win on behalf of Euro NASCAR. And now here, Raja Carruth making a clutch performance at the end on fresh tires against Jean-Philippe Bergeron to go for the win, and ending it off with Train Lapsevich hoisting the 2022 trophy. Well, that would do it for us on our side for the eNASCAR International iRacing Series. It's been such a pleasure covering this over the past 5 races, and hopefully we get to see it soon for 2023. Remember, still a lot more coverage of eNASCAR later on tonight. Join the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series coverage as they conclude their season and will decide the 20 that will join the top 20 in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series for later next year. And if you want to learn more about the growing world of eNASCAR, you can scan the QR code on your screen or visit eNASCAR.com and sign up today to get all the latest news and updates from the Contender iRacing Series, the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, and so much more. So for everybody involved, for our partners at eNASCAR, for Drew Adamson, Sean Ambrose, Tyler Hudson, Cisco Scaramuza, Travis Sollenberger, and Corey Vervinch at iRacing, for Gary Sexton and John Theodore at Podium Esports, our camera creator Dougie Beard, and for our crew on the broadcast tonight and for the entire season, for Devin Henry on his fantastic work in the booth over the campaign, our producer this evening and all season long, Ryan Bauer, and my colleague in the booth tonight, Joe Peak. My name is Kenneth Bueno, saying thank you so much for watching our broadcast of the 5th and final race of the D-Box eNASCAR International iRacing Series powered by Digital Motorsports, and congratulations to the 2022 champion out of the NASCAR Pinty Series, Train Lapsevich.